Hey guys, how's it going? Just a quick note before we get started here with Rogue Actions. For those that are new here, this is my community show. It's sort of just for fun, a lot of BS. Don't take it too seriously. It's not for everybody, so if you do decide to stick around, let me know in the comments down below kind of what you think on the format. I'm still kind of tweaking it. I think we were about 20 minutes in with the first episode with Remon, and this was about an hour with Nukin, so I kind of wanted up somewhere in the middle, open for feedback. And again, this may not be for everybody, but if you do stick it around, hope you enjoy it. And without further ado, it's time for Rogue Actions. Live from the hottest holotable hall deep within the Outer Rim, it's Rogue Actions with your host, Urza, and tonight's special guest, Nukin. Thank you, and welcome to Rogue Actions, where we're serving up the tough questions in and around the galaxy. Tonight, we're joined by one of the premier theory crafters out there and a fellow game changer brother. It's my pleasure to welcome Nukin to Urza's Holotable Hall. Nukin, how's it going, man?
How is it going, Urza? So am I your second guest on this amazing podcast? Late night talk show.
Late night talk show.
Type of thing.
Yes, absolutely, man. And welcome. We are so excited to have you
to
here.
Be here.
Thank you. So let's just get right to it. First question here. We want to answer the tough questions. Many consider raids the lifeblood of the game. The Rancor raid was originally released in April of 2016, and was then followed by the Tank raid. That was in October of the same year. The Sith raid came out over a year later with after the introductions of TB and TW. Is it time for a new raid, or would you rather see a different game mode altogether?
So, like something even above and beyond the Sith raid, or like more of an update?
A brand new raid,
the older ones?
A brand new raid, or a different game mode altogether.
I would say in the state of the game right now, we're basically wrapping up the summer of 18. I would say no to a new raid. I think that the Sith raid is still in its sort of infancy right now, and I would say that I think we're overdue to have basically a new game mode, or maybe an update to one of the existing game modes. So whether that be Territory Wars, Territory Battles, or a brand new game mode that maybe involves a different sort of format, or maybe involves more of other underused units, like potentially ships. I think we're overdue for one of those. I think Territory Battles was actually launched about a year ago, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're overdue for one of those. And I think that's going to be pretty exciting because, right now with the changes to mods 2.0, and, I think all the mods basically got a little bit of a boost, like overnight. I don't know about you, but my total galactic power shot up like 50,000 GP overnight because of the mod changes and stuff. And due to like all of the new characters, there's inflation to GP. So suddenly we went from only having a few 200 million guilds and a few 150 million GP guilds, etc. And now there's like a whole bunch of them. So that's going to make the current TB sort of setup going to be much easier to highly get those high stars, and basically actually maybe perfect both light side and dark side TB pretty soon, if not already. So that means that when a lot of people are doing that something should be around the corner to either update things or spice things up. What do you think?
Well, I think there's an opportunity to totally spice up like existing stuff like Hot and Rancor. I mean, they could easily add just a super hardcore version of that. I mean, just another tier. I know we have Heroic already, but maybe it's something beyond Heroic, like Legendary or something. And it's just another tier, and maybe that's just an easy, quick grab they can do to breathe some new life into an old game mode. So, and then, there's always that speculation they could roll out new territory war maps with different bonuses associated with them. I mean, maybe we go to Tatooine. I've got a full load of Tuskens, man. That would be some sweet stuff. So
Tuskens versus the meta.
Yeah, you got it, man.
I know.
So yeah, there's
I've
some
been watching some of those videos.
There's some opportunity there. So I think, it's good commentary, and we'll go ahead and move on to the next question here just to move us along. Given the overall sentiment around marquee releases and the rarity of Hero's Journey and Legendary events, what sort of model would you like to see moving forward with new releases and, maybe for characters that don't really apply to a Hero's Journey or Legendary format? What would you think around that? I mean, what could they do to kind of get rid of the marquee fatigue?
I think that someone at Capital Games did not really either plan the current schedule of events correctly, or whoever was in charge of, the estimated kind of goal time allotment that they want players to be able to quickly gear up or, Zeta some of these characters, either one of those two groups of people at the studio, or maybe it's not black and white, or maybe it's both. Basically like someone dropped the ball, I believe, or maybe they didn't think so originally, but they are fully aware because the community has had some backlash, and by some, that's actually probably like not even doing it to service. There have been, huge Reddit threads with hundreds of likes of people basically, thinking the same thing. Myself personally, I am definitely kind of burnt out with the amount of marquee characters that came out since, I want to say, the Solo movie release. Right. There's been so much, and I went from basically only having a line or two of characters to that were under geared. I try to get all my characters to at least the purple gear 7 or gear 8 range, to like now it's, the whole, at least a full screen, if not, 1.5 screens. So that's like, 6 rows of characters to work on. Yeah. And I don't know. It's just like even with the introduction of weekly shipments, that's still not enough to basically speed up the grinding process. So I'm not sure exactly what they have store. Maybe we're talking about a new game mode. If there is a new game mode on the horizon, or if there is a update to territory battles, maybe the better territory battles, or the newer shiny territory battle, maybe that will have even higher quality rewards, or maybe the new game mode will help with that. But in the current state of the game, where we're basically just speculating on that, in the current state of the game, it's still a huge pain to take up those characters. So I wouldn't say, and actually I want to change my question before, and then I'm going to stop rambling for a second. I want to hear what you actually have to think. But I don't think the marquee event character release type of thing is actually that bad. The issue, really, the macro issue, is that it's just too difficult to grind these characters up. The Zeta acquisition rate is still quite low. We're slowly getting more Omegas, so that's helpful. We were super bottlenecked by Omegas, and basically all the characters, when they go free to play, they're going on ship and light side and dark side hard nodes. So that's another issue. If more of those marquee event characters went into the stores, or they went into the cantina, etc., it actually wouldn't be that bad with the amounts of marquee event characters that came out. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm a little torn on this one as well. I actually I like marquee characters. I'm running a Bastille Elite right now. I'm one of those guys running a Bastille Elite. My guild's 150 million GP, and we're still working toward getting Treya. So I'm still trying to unlock her.
Where are you on your Treya shards right now?
I'm like 120 out of 145, I want to say. So I'm getting really close. Yeah. But. So I guess I'm a huge advocate of having a free to play option that's totally viable, that can actually beat Treya and the whole Triumvirate on a good RNG day. But at the same time, like we're seeing this influx of all these characters, and like you mentioned, they're all getting put on these really hard nodes. Like you're hitting Emphas Nest Farm, you're hitting Vanchu Farm, and it's like man, just like you blank on one of those, and it feels like it's going to be an eternity. So what I would like to see is some sort of compromise, not quite the Hero's Journey or the Legendary. I think if you maybe had the Legendary format that didn't require 5 specific characters, but maybe had 8 specific characters, or just so you have a bit more accessibility and you can get, the character fully unlocked.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that would be a nice way of, rewarding the community. And again, you're still going to have to, it still moves the needle forward because you're going to have to level all those characters, those 5 to 8 or whatever characters that you have access to. You're still going to have to level them and gear them. And that requires resources. That still moves the needle forward. So
I think real quick, and then I'll end it on this. The legendary events I'm more a fan of than the heroic journey events. Although I would love to see a dark side heroes fall type of dark side character heroic journey event, which I think eventually will happen, and sometime in August. But basically, I think that the legendary events are the best because at least if you don't have, it's not all or nothing. You could, potentially squeeze by and get a 5-star legendary character and get that unlocked. And so you don't feel so bad, not getting the 7-star version, because at least you can use them in some game modes. You can't raid with them, but you can definitely use them in TW, Arena, etc. So I think legendary events are actually much better than heroic journey events. And I believe I think it's pretty guaranteed that we're going to get a few legendary events, by the end of the year. If they all happen to be heroic journey events, I think that the community wouldn't even like that either. We're definitely going to need at least the majority of any sort of legendary heroic journey events be mostly legendary and only one heroic journey if we're even getting one. So that's my opinion right there.
Yeah, and just to bolt on to that at the very end there, one thing I do love about the legendary event is, you mentioned you only get like a 5-star version of the character or whatever you can afford to, get unlock at. You can get started on the gearing, and then you're done. And then when the event comes back around again, you're basically done at that point, and then you're just putting on like one or two pieces to move it up to gear 12. So I just love having that head start on gearing because you're going to invest. I mean, I've done it with Nest right now where I'm just I'm working the ship node. So I don't know, good stuff. But let's. I think we've covered that one. We'll go ahead and move on to a topic that I know you know a lot about. And I know you just did.
I think I know a little bit about basically everything because I am one of the best of the best.
Yeah. You played this game for like 3 years now, coming up on 3 years.
At least 2. I don't know. It's all blur.
I would hope you know something.
I hope I know something. Maybe I'm like in denial and I don't know anything. There's a quote actually. The more that you know, the more you realize that you don't know. Oh. So I could know basically nothing or a lot.
All right, well, let's see what you know about mods, because I know you recently collaborated with Warrior on a new video talking about this very tough subject. Yeah. What is the main takeaway or advice you can offer to Urza's Holotable Hall of the Night as it pertains to mods 2.0?
Like the big kind of
like if you could just say, guys, you need to be doing one thing as it pertains to mods and beyond farming, which is quite obvious, right?
I would say the one of the biggest takeaways from a mods 2.0 environment is there's just so much to talk about with mods 2.0, to be honest. But I think there's a few big takeaway points, and I'll probably forget one of them, since this is so an impromptu thing, but it is what it is. I think that one big thing for mods is that people need to realize that if you basically haven't been understanding what mods, how to really properly mod characters, then now's like the time to learn. Like, for example, when Ships 2.0 came out, there were a lot of people that were just coasting by in the 200 to 500 rank because that was sort of like the bare minimum to get some extra Zeta salvage or something. Right, and then suddenly Ships 2.0 came out and people were like, oh, maybe I'll just, actually try to get some crystals now in ships. And a lot of people did that. I think for now in a mods 2.0 environment, now's your chance to basically actually learn how to mod some of the characters, because the ball game is definitely changed for many different characters. So basically taking advantage of kind of learning how to mod characters. I've actually been sort of skimming the forums and seeing some other people talk about it, and I will say that there is some content and even just screenshots being shared around that are actually inaccurate. I'm not going to like name any names or put any people on the spot, but be careful about what you're listening to and what graphs you're looking at or charts or whatever, because I have been beginning to see a lot of mistakes in how people have calculated things. I have personally not done the calculations, but I can immediately look at some of the stuff and be like, that is not wrong. So so I would say don't be chasing what other people are just spoon feeding you. You really kind of just have to, that goes with the first point, kind of start to figure it out. And if you don't know, just take a second and wait for other people to figure it out for sure, and then start slicing some of those mods, because it is a grind. We have had mods for over 2 years. Do you expect the entire player base to suddenly have like an entire roster of the perfect mods, the perfect sets? The sets got changed. 6-mods changes different things as well, and so there's no rush. I mean, basically just do your arena team, your fleet commander, and kind of just maybe start hoarding, because very soon people are going to start to figure out what is exactly best. So that would be another thing, is to not really rush into trying to slice every single thing. And all
right, let's move on. Let's talk meta here, and more specifically Traya in the Triumvirate. And let me be clear here, I'm speaking as a man who is still running Jedi, and we talked about my Traya farm earlier.
Jedi scum.
So you can guess my stance here and kind of how I feel about Traya. But do you think that the trio was just made too strong, and is it healthy for the competitive balance of the game?
This we might actually differ on this. I am a dark side fanboy. I'm wearing my Nukin Imperial Army Darth Vader T-shirt right now, actually, and so I'm a huge dark side fanboy, and I would actually go and say that the Sith Triumvirate is actually not even strong enough.
You're killing me.
That's my personal opinion. That's my personal opinion. The fact that you can actually, have a fully 7-star banana. This is, by the way, if you don't know what banana is, when you take a character to gear 12, it looks, the golden rings, it kind of looks like they have bananas around them. So like when you take a character to gear 12 and you even give them some of the new gear, the old gear 12 pieces and the new gear 12 plus pieces, and then you still have like this gear 11, 2 or 3 star Bastila Jedi team just show up and still beat them after you grinded since February of the Sith Raid release to like make this team, and they're still beating you with a decent win rate. It is still quite high. I don't know exactly what it is off the top of my head, but it's got to be more than 50% chance win rate.
I would just say it's about 30%. I win these against the top end, and the guys that are like very well modded. I'm gonna say I'm winning at about 30% of those, and
maybe they have average mods and you don't have even that. Maybe you have below average or something. But I will say this: I don't think that should be a thing, or maybe I am exaggerating, but I don't think that they were strong enough actually, and the Palpatine teams definitely get run over by.
So I just finished my Scion, so I could try doing like some sort of nightmare variant to try and beat it. I guess that is an option.
So I mean, that's my personal opinion. I think we disagree on that, but that's okay. I think that people that have differing opinions on the state of the game actually makes the game better, because then the devs and other people are getting different kinds of feedback instead of just one thing, and then they can take both sources and figure out maybe a compromise or just go with the better option. But that, I think the Sith Triumvirate actually they are strong, but I think they are still a little bit too easily beatable. And I would have liked actually to see them a little bit stronger.
All right.
Like when you think about Kenobi when he came into the game, he worked on every team.
Nukin, let me stop you there.
Right.
Kenobi, when he came into the game, you could get Chase and you could power through. You could beat it with Chase. There is no Chase. I mean, I guess Bastila is the closest thing we have to that. Right. I don't know. Right. I lived through Kenobi and I felt like it was an easier meta than it is right now.
I would say I would agree with you. I think the meta was easier, but I don't know. I just think that Kenobi, if we compare Kenobi to Traya is definitely on a higher power level, but she has less flexibility. So there's a trade-off there.
That's fair.
I'm not sure, but I would like her to be stronger. It doesn't really matter what I like because that's just the way it is. She's not stronger, but she's still quite strong. So, and I'm enjoying running Darkside in Arena. And since it's been a while, I'm expecting that to change probably in the near future. And the Jedi or whatever light side scum faction will have their, 6-month reign, and we'll just be we'll be basically flipping sides at that point. You'll be saying they're not strong enough, and I'll be saying they're too strong. So I think that's the way it goes.
All right. Well, agree to disagree, and we'll just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm. Let the viewers, figure out
in the comments.
Go down in the comments who's right here, and we'll see. Well, it'll just probably end up being a popularity contest. I'm a light side fanboy. I'm a dark side fanboy.
All right. Let's we've got the serious business of mods and meta and Sith Raid. We've got it all out of the way. Let's go on to something a little bit more fun.
All right.
So we have mechanics in the game, and we've had a boatload of just different mechanics, from everything from raid to like Jawas to Jedi to the Triumvirate to the prepared mechanic. Nukin, what is your favorite mechanic in this game all time?
Favorite
raid mechanic, PvP mechanic, whatever you got to do, like a different, like a faction that does something
like an individual type of thing, like Fracture is a mechanic. Would you say
Fracture's a mechanic?
Okay. I would say my favorite mechanic in the game would probably be something dark side related. And I would say something along the lines of probably like Fracture, Isolate, or the Imperial Probe Droid, how he can do target lock and prevent buffs. I think that type of mechanic is quite good. Especially if you can sort of synergize that with other characters. I think they're trying to do that with the droids, and they're just not quite there yet. I think there could potentially be a droid target lock team that actually could be, arena meta strong. And that would be a fun type of thing to do. I'm a fan of those type of things. But in terms of like just overall fun, just like as a team as a whole, because those are like legendary type of things, like Fracture. Thrawn is the only one that can fracture, and Isolate, that only comes from Traya. As a team, I think the most fun team to play right now is probably like, Zeta Fin Resistance, Imperial Troopers, or Bounty Hunters, for example. Bounty Hunters are really cool because they have that contract mechanic, and then every Bounty Hunter leader has a different kind of contract, like mini quest. And that type of gameplay style is quite interesting to me. I think the only thing that would be that's preventing that from being by far probably the best sort of fun play mechanic to use for the entire player base is that the contract quests are just either too difficult or take too long, or they're just not generally the right contracts that are the most fun. So there's potential, for that. There might be potential bounty hunters that have even more different contracts, or maybe they'll get reworked as well. I believe we're allowed to say that, as you're watching this video, that Jango Fett is going to be the newest bounty hunter. And of course, every new bounty hunter, it's actually Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, bounty hunter leaderships, because I think every bounty hunter has its own little leadership going on. I would say, I think if the Jango Fett leadership has a nice little contract that's, very, interesting to basically work around, I think that might be cool as well. And of course, there's a bunch of other bounty hunters in the game, not in the game, but in the game files and in the lore of Star Wars. So if they keep that going, there's bound to be even more fun contracts, and that sort of mechanic is probably like the most fun as a team. And Imperial Troopers are amazing. You kill one thing, and then everyone gets turn meter and buffs, and you're just like, it's just boom, 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 boom. Like the momentum is really there. So those are really fun teams to play, I would say. So if you don't have a bounty hunter team, you don't have an Imperial Trooper team, you don't have a Zeta Finn Resistance team, I would say you're missing out, because those are probably the 3 most fun teams to play right now in Galaxy of Heroes.
So counterpoint, I think you are out of your damn mind. I'm going to say no. Okay. You're out of your mind if you think Fracture or Isolation is good for this game. And the reasons for that, as a guy who goes against those teams, Thrawn and Traya, it is the most unfun thing to be down 2 characters 5 seconds into the fight, because those 2 abilities have gone off. I don't know. For me, I'm very much a team building guy, and we're both. You're more of a theory crafter. I'm a light theory crafter. But for me, that is not a fun mechanic at all, to be down 2 characters when you're trying your hardest to, assemble some sort of comp that can try and beat the meta. I mean, the meta is the meta, and I get that. But I do not think those abilities. I do not want to see another Fracture or Isolation put into this game. I'd rather go back to 2016 and go back to a simpler arena where it feels.
Then you would be bored. You would be
probably,
like, this is too easy.
Probably. But I don't know. I'm just not a fan of
That's
being.
my counterpoint to you.
I'm not a fan of like being down 2 characters at the beginning of a fight, and it's a very disheartening feeling. So I don't know. For a healthy competitive balance, I was okay with Fracture, because everybody loves Thrawn. He's an amazing character. But Isolation just felt like I will always argue that Traya was good enough without Isolation. Like, she would still be used and still be amazing, even if she didn't have that ability. With the cleansing, with the damage output, with all the stuff that she brings to the Triumvirate, I still think she would be amazing. So I don't know that. And the other point I want to make is, you talked about target lock. That is the team I theory craft the most with. I just put out a video called Mommy's Metal. Go check it out. So it's got Mother Talzin.
What'd you call it?
Mommy's Metal, and it's got all 3 target lock droids. That's the metal. It's got Mommy, so Mother Talzin, and it uses Cassian, and it has a very specific order, and it actually lets the other team go first, and it goes second, and then you clear off everything with IPD. So he lays down some target lock. Then you spread some more target lock with IG-88. It's an IG-88 lead, so you get all these dots from all these crits, and you have the added crit chance up. And then you also, and then the last thing you do is you lay down Plague after all that. So you mod your Mommy max tenacity, so she doesn't get stunned or anything. And then you lay down Plague, and that locks down all the debuffs. It keeps just everything. They can't be cleansed off at that point. It's
Mommy Talzin.
Yeah, so it is an amazing thing. You should go check out the video, guys. It's called Mommy's Metal, and then it has Cassian in the 5th slot, and Cassian's got all sorts of cool synergy with that team, because he can spread all the buffs around, and he's got Shot Grenade, which spreads a bunch of other debuffs around. So you basically get like almost every debuff on the field out there, and it's like a super quick match. So
for everyone watching, if you implement this team in your arena or territory war battles, you will actually be having a free Urzatron comment in the YouTube videos.
Yeah, show me.
So he'll just go down and respond to your comments and be like, aha, You used my team,
Yeah.
and suddenly you'll actually be able to have lucky RNG for the next week. And by lucky RNG, I mean you're going to have the normal RNG of double drops.
But I'm going to tell you it's lucky. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I think what did you just wake up one day and you're like, I'm gonna theory craft this droid Mother Talzin team, and I'm gonna call her Mama. Or Mommy.
Yeah, Mommy. No, I woke up one day and I was like, I tested for 3 days straight trying to find this, make target lock work, and how does it need to work, and what does the turn order need to be, and that's ultimately what I came up on. So it's a super fun team. It can beat JTR, it can beat First Order in Territory Wars, it can beat everything short of the meta, basically. So do check it out. It's called Mommy's Metal. I'll just leave it at that. So we'll just continue moving on here. Nukin, we've been talking for a while, but let's just keep jamming here.
Right.
We're going to move on to something more just lore related. I know you're not a huge lore guy. But we're going to talk about Disney. And we're 4 Star Wars films in under Disney. Where does Nukin come out on the 4 films, and how would you rank them in order?
From like the Force Awakens on to the Last Jedi.
Force Awakens,
or wait, Solo.
Force Awakens,
so
Solo, Last Jedi, and Rogue One.
Okay, like rank them in my personal order.
What does Nukin like?
I think that so I'll start from worst to last. Okay?
All right.
And I want to say, keep in mind that usually I am a pretty positive person when it comes to watching entertainment, and I can pretty much watch one of the worst movies as a little preference and still get amusement out of it,
right?
Because I'm basically making fun of it at the same like just while watching it. So I will say that's like my little preference. Now, granted, it's not a black or white thing. I think even some of the greatest movies of all time, I have little pet peeves about. So there's that too. But I would actually have to safely say that The Last Jedi is probably the worst that has come out since Disney has started, which is unfortunate because it's the last major film. Besides, I'm not counting like Rogue One and the Solo movie as a major like episode film in the trilogy or whatever. So I would say that's the worst. So that's number 4 on Nukin's list. Okay. And let me know as well, what you think.
I'm with you. I'm with you there. Keep going.
Okay. Number 3, I would probably have to say that it's probably going to be Force Awakens.
Really?
In number 3. I think Force Awakens was a really good movie, and I actually didn't really have to say anything about Last Jedi. There were a lot of good moments in Last Jedi as well, but I was also disappointed, and it kind of relates to the reason why Force Awakens is number 3 in my book. I just think that the storyline really is lacking a dark side, villain or just dude that is like a rival. He doesn't even have to be dark side. You could have 2 light side characters just bickering and doing stuff, right? It doesn't even have to be a dark side dude. But there is no competition between Rey and some of the other light side guys and the dark side guys. I think Kylo Ren has been a disappointment in terms of a character that can really even be half of what Palpatine or Darth Vader or some of these great sort of Sith, dark side leaders have been in the past. I mean, Tarkin wasn't even a Force user, and I think he is miles ahead of Kylo Ren personally. And so, I think that's one of the issues there is that behind every hero, you need to have a counterpart for it to be balanced. And those, like even in sports matches, like even if your team, I don't know if you guys watching out here play a lot of sports or watch sports like football or baseball. When your team wins like 20-0, I mean, you feel great, but it's really not that exciting of a game. The exciting games are when it's so close and you get to the last inning or the last quarter and you make some crazy comeback. Like that's what is actually most exciting. there's not anything like that going on in those movies. So hopefully in the last, like the finale, something happens where Kylo like finally grows up and learns how to do something, that's not completely mediocre. So I'm going to do that number 3. And then, to wrap it up, then we're talking about Rogue One and Solo. And it's hard to say. I think Solo was the most recent one. I saw them both about the same time, like 2 or 3 times already. And I would say that it's really hard. I would say that probably Solo might have been even better than Rogue One. But Rogue One still has, I will say this, Rogue One has the best scene ever. You know what I'm talking about. Darth Vader.
Yeah.
that is an amazing scene.
Yeah,
I could watch. I think I've watched that like 50 times at least alone. And so I would say, Rogue One has the best overall scene, but I think the Solo movie actually did a better job kind of portraying the storyline, and at least they didn't have, spoiler alert, every single character introduced to the movie just die. So I wasn't a fan of that actually in Rogue One. So I'd say Rogue One second to the top, and then actually the Solo movie I think was a little bit better in my mind compared to Rogue One. So that's my order. What about you? What's a quick order for you?
Yeah, I'm with you. Like The Last Jedi is just, I walked out of that movie thinking that was a weird movie, man. That was just weird.
Right.
Like I don't know if I enjoyed it or if I was just kind of like, I had so much anticipation, and I think it was just it.
There was a lot of hype behind it.
Yeah, there was a lot of hype, and it did not live up to the hype for me. So that's number 4 for me. I would say Rogue One was probably number 3 for me, simply because I felt I saw what I loved about that movie was the battle on Scarif and like the space battle, like that all felt, I was all playing on nostalgia, and it was all amazing, very, very well done. But all the characters kind of felt emotionally void for me, and you knew their fate going into it, so that didn't help things. So I would say Rogue One is probably number 3, and then Force Awakens. I could see a toss-up here. It's either Force Awakens or Solo. I really enjoyed all the characters in Force Awakens. I felt like them doing Starkiller Base was kind of a little anticlimactic. It felt too familiar, and it just felt kind of, I don't know, again, emotionally void at the end. Like when they blew it up, it was kind of just like, all right, another big thing blown up.
What a complete waste of resources.
Right. Like you think the First Order would have learned from.
Right. Yeah.
But and then that takes us to Solo, and I'm like you, man. I totally enjoyed Solo. I went in with no expectations, and I walked out, and I was like, I had fun. That was a fun movie.
It was good. So we basically, where we differed was the middle, but we got the first and our last the same, which is probably the most important thing to match on.
But so the most important thing I need to say here is, as much as I disliked Last Jedi, it's still a Star Wars movie, and it's still special to me. So
like
we're doing
this is first world problem complaining. It's like, I feel like a basic white dude. Like I need to go order a pumpkin spice latte, and because that's how I'm feeling right now. This is first world problems. Even if the movie is just barely above average, if there was a Star Wars movie every year, I'd go watch it probably a few times, and I would enjoy myself. So all right. All the movies are generally good. We're just ranking them in terms of like what we think is the best of the best.
Yeah. All right. So one last question here before we move on to Force Lightning Round.
Okay.
If you could rework any character in the game for whatever reason, who would it be and why?
Rework any single character in the game
for whatever reason.
And it could be light side or dark side.
Yeah, whatever you want to do, man. This is all you.
I would say the character that probably needs the most rework right now would probably be General Grievous. And I would say he needs one the most, and probably has needed one the most for the longest period of time.
Yeah.
I don't really care, though. And I know Arnold has been basically almost like becoming a politician. Like if there was a campaign to win the office of General Grievous Reworks, he would be the president of that. And I do try and chime into the Des and be like, yeah, he kind of needs something. But I would say in terms of reworks, the sort of faction that probably I would like to see get a rework would probably be either the clones or potentially maybe like go back and rework the Empire again, and the characters that didn't get reworked, for example.
Royal Guard needs some love.
So Royal Guard got nothing. He got absolutely nothing. And he's a cool sort of tank. And so I'd like to see him get reworked. I'd like to see Garth Saxon and the Imperial Super Commando get a rework as well, because they do have a great ship, the Gauntlet Starfighter, probably one of my favorite ships, but they do nothing. You know, I saw that. I was so excited for his leadership. Like, oh, this is like the Empire Commander Luke Skywalker, and he was lackluster in dark side territory battles. He did nothing in arena. Basically, their only thing is ships. And even his ship isn't used all the time in your arena fleet. Maybe a little bit more into territory wars. So I'd like to see some of those characters get a rework. Rather it be like those Empire characters that missed out on one of those, or I'd like to potentially see the clone troopers get some love, because I had a lot of fun playing the clones in the tank raid, and now they're just collecting dust on the bench. They really just don't do much of anything nowadays. So I don't know if they need like a new leader. And I know people are probably going to hate on that, because Rex has been like the best, generic leader of all time. And if we get like, a rework, then suddenly maybe he comes back into the meta. But let's be honest. I mean, Rex as a leader is always going to come back if crit is a thing and you have a bunch of just standalone meta units that come into the game. Like if there's another Commander Luke that comes into the game, throw him on a Rex team and it'll probably work. So there's always going to be that. But as a whole, like Echo and Clone Sergeant and some of these, clones, they really just don't do anything, even under Rex lead or a Cody leadership. And I'd like to see them kind of do something, because they're also kind of fun to play. They were, I believe, maybe the first mass assist type of thing going on before General Kenobi came around. So yeah, probably that. I'm leaning more towards the Empire because I'm a dark side fanboy, of course. So that would be my answer.
Right. Yeah, I would like to see, here's what I always talk about is I would like to see like a 15% base damage bump across all the old characters. Anybody from like pre-September 2017, like
what kind of bump?
Like a base damage bump of like 15%, because a lot of these old characters have like amazing kits. Like, I'm a huge fan of Lobot. I've got my whole show around him. And I think he's a very interesting leader. He's got a very interesting
the meta.
Yeah, I mean, like if he got a Zeta and maybe some just like a stat upgrade, he would be very interesting. And droids need a leader, and so I'm gonna vote for my man Low. I enjoy that guy. He's cool, and I don't know, man. But I agree with you. I could even look at like some of like the Rebels that are like kind of like the Empire versions of the Rebels guys, like Hoth guys, and original Lando. Like some of these guys they're just so far behind in terms of their damage and what their kits can do nowadays. It would be nice to see some of those guys get some touch up.
Yeah, it would be nice. Let's put them towards the bottom of the priority list, though.
All right. I'm not saying that with a huge amount of conviction, but Lobot, I can
Lobot. All right, let's do Lobot. Let's agree on Lobot.
We're moving on to Force Lightning Round, and this is where I'm going to ask Nuke here some questions around Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, specific to kits, specific to the history of the game, and we'll just see how he can do. So you're going to exercise your mastery of the holotables.
As long as I get at least one answer right, I'm going to be happy.
I have faith in you. You don't play a game for 3 years and have like weekly shows and podcasts and videos about it without learning a thing.
You never know, because I do call like, oh, that one thingy that does that sometimes all the time.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
As a reminder, please don't dare access your device or .gg.
I'm not touching anything. Just chilling.
My droids are maintaining a scan of your signature, and any irregularities will be reported.
All right.
All right, so Force Lightning round. Here we go. Question 1. Put the following characters in the correct chronological order of their release into the game.
All right.
There's four characters here.
All right.
Fulcrum Ahsoka.
Okay.
CT Echo. Chief Nebbit, and Geo Spy.
Okay.
So from beginning to end.
I would say that.
So Fulcrum Ahsoka.
Echo first.
Okay, Echo.
Am I even on the right track? Echo. I think it was Echo.
Echo is first.
Okay,
yes.
cool. Okay, we haven't failed instantly. Okay, Echo and it was, and the last 3 are Fulcrum, Nibbit, and what was the last one?
Geo Spy.
Geo Spy. Let's say Geo Spy.
It was actually Nebbit. He came in at Modpocalypse.
Okay, just kidding. Nebbit. Let's just keep going. Let me just see if I can finish this at least 75%. Okay, Nebbit.
All right.
Then Geo Spy, and then Fulcrum.
Yes. You got it.
Okay, so
3 out of 4.
I'll say that I got it wrong, but at least I finished up strong for my own sort of self-esteem there.
All right. So moving on to the next one,
right.
We have under an Ayla leadership, Jedi Valor is what it's called. Jedi gain this percentage of what stat?
Jedi Valor? This is a leadership ability?
Ayla's leadership. I know you were probably just looking at this.
Ayla's
today, right?
leadership? They got tenacity?
Yeah, they do get tenacity.
Okay.
But what percentage do they gain of tenacity?
Oh, like specific numbers? Oh, this is hard.
Yeah, you got to give me a number. This is hard,
Let's do 30%?
40%. You're close.
Okay.
You were so close.
40%.
Yeah, 40%.
All right.
You didn't ever run Ayla in the tank raid?
I did. I made a whole video on that, actually. You make a video and you forget what you did like after a year ago.
It's funny though, because now that I'm in the program,
you didn't specify whether it was the Omega version. Maybe level. In a world where you have a level 6 or 7 ability leadership, I was right.
Yeah. There you go.
Right.
No, so I it's funny you mentioned that because you made a video on it. I made a video on Aura. I had to go look up her abilities today.
All right, well, it's safe to say that I'm failing, but at least like, I'm like so close. Maybe if I just
You're so close.
I go home and study for the next week and I come back, I think I can boost that so close to just perfection.
All right. Let's move on here.
Right.
Number 3, Force Lightning round. This character received new shard and picture art mere days after its initial release. Which character and why?
This character got a character art done, and what else?
And so they released the character. It had specific shard and picture art. Like you go to your character screen. They changed it like a week later. Which character was this and why?
Was it the Geos?
No, the Geos has got a new art kind of like well down the road, I want to say.
Okay. Give me a hint.
He's a legendary character.
A legendary character?
Yeah.
Let's see.
No, wait, no. It's a hero's journey.
Hero's journey.
So you got like a one.
Just flip up the coin.
Yeah.
Oh, Commander Luke. I remember this, right?
You remember this?
Commander
Okay,
Luke, because we have the farm boy Luke, and so they wanted to differentiate, him. They still kind of basically look the same in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm just not good at, differentiating wannabe Jedis and farm boys, but
yeah. No, he looked a little bit more emo and a little bit more brooding.
I do remember that. Yeah,
they had kind of the same tilt of the head, but it was just like the hair was a little bit different. Yeah. All right.
We're failing here.
Moving
basically.
on here.
The people watching are like, "Oh God, your lore is so bad."
Ramon did a little bit better. I'm not gonna lie.
Maybe that's his strong suit. He's a lore expert.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if we can get. This is another ability question. So, on the IG 100 Magna Guard, you're already cringing. I can tell. On the IG 100 Magna Guard unique Relentless Assault, IG 100 gains this buff at the start of each of its turns if it hasn't been damaged since the end of its last turn. You got it, man.
That's not a lore question. Do you see? Like, there's a trend. The mechanical questions, the theory crafting questions, boom. The ordering of lackluster characters like Geospy and Nebbit, no idea.
All right, man.
Was that the last one?
Last question here.
More.
We got one more. We got one more. And everybody who's played this game should have an idea of this.
Did you make up all these questions?
I did, just for you, man.
Well, most impressive.
All right. General Kenobi, GK, you know him, you love him, requires this amount of Mark III Carbanti sensor arrays to reach Gear 12.
You know what? It's probably like in the salvage, right? Total salvage or total Carbantis.
Yeah. Like if you were to go to GG, don't do it.
I'm not doing anything.
If you were going to GG and you were looking at the gear list,
SWGOH GG, then I obviously don't know how to use the website because I've been getting everything wrong. But yeah, I'm not using. Okay, so let's say 400 salvage.
500 is the answer.
So
Again,
close.
You're so close.
So close. Oh man. If there was like a podium, like a top 3, at least that would be the guy in second. We need 3 competitors.
All right, we'll just have to come back on another episode of Rogue Actions, and we'll just have to talk about shot, man.
I'm okay. I'm okay with losing. I knew my lore knowledge was womp womp. So.
All right, man. Well, that about wraps us up for tonight. I'd like to thank our guest, Nukin. My man, Nukin, where can these people find you and tell them what you do?
I do a little bit of everything, but basically I am covering just about every aspect of Galaxy of Heroes. I do a lot of ship videos, Sith Raid videos. Yeah, basically you name it, I probably have a video on it. And so you can find me on YouTube. Just type in Nukin, Nukin. And I also do a monthly podcast called the SWGOH In-Depth Podcast with some buddies of mine. And so that's also on my channel. And so you can check that out as well. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and make sure that you give a like on this video because I'm pretty sure that you were entertained. And if you're not, then I'm going to come back and we're going to double the amount of likes that basically this video got. So
yeah,
thanks for having me, Urza. This was fun. And
it was a lot of fun.
And I look forward to the next person that goes on to this show because I want to see what they can do with their lore knowledge and see if I want to see if I'm the worst of the worst. As long as I'm not the complete worst, I think that's going to be okay for me.
Yeah, you did good, man. Right. You did good. All right, guys. This has been Rogue Actions live from Urza's Holotable Hall. We hope you all have a great night.